Hello, Internet. It is I, the Malik Aaron, and welcome back to Box Office Recaps. Yes, I know this video is super late. I apologize for that. I've been very busy with work and school, and it's just been awful. I have barely any time to do anything anymore. Well, as they say, better late than never, right? See, I wanted to say that before we got into anything else. So, August, the last month of the summer, or at least the Hollywood summer. How did it do? How were things? Well, things were strange, to say the least. You know, Especially since the last few months, it's been very easy to predict what would be the big movie of the month. For May, Quiet Place 2. June F9, July Black Widow. Those were all a given. Right? Those are all extremely easy to predict. This month was different though, because the movie that everyone thought would be the big winner completely tanked, and another movie came out of nowhere to claim, dominance over everything else. So, yeah, it was weird, man. And when it comes to my predictions, how I did, some movies I was dead on. There was one really underestimated, and a couple that completely crashed through the floor. And we're gonna get to all of them, in due time in this video. So yeah, let's start with the big. Well, originally I thought this would be the big W of the month, and then it turned into the big L, at least for a while. And that movie was The Suicide Squad. Oh my gosh, where do I even begin with this? So, The Suicide Squad. This was the movie that everyone, including me, believed without a shadow of a doubt it would be the big movie of the month. And for good reason. It's a big budget DC movie. It's a sequel to a movie that, although wasn't good, still made a lot of money. The original Suicide Squad made over $745 million worldwide, 10th biggest movie of 2016. That number is nothing to sneeze at. And also, this movie was directed by James Gunn, the man behind the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, which also made 700, $800 million. Right? This movie, it shouldn't have failed at all, but it did. And it did horrifically. Now, with my prediction, actually, my predictions kind of started like this. A few months before it came out, I assumed it would open to at least 50 million. That was the number I thought it would open with because, again, like I said, it's the last, well, I originally thought was like one of the last big movies of the summer before we reached a lull, in the calendar. Had James Gunn, who has a strong hardcore fan base, right? Yeah, that. You had strong reviews, strong word of mouth, strong trailer reactions. I thought it opened at least 50 million. But then as we got closer to the release date, a lot of people were lowering their predictions quite a bit to the point where they reached the 30s, and I'm just like, okay, that's not good. And with my official prediction, I decided to just stick with everybody else and stick with 30 to 35 million, but hoping against hope that it overperformed. But it didn't. It didn't do that at all. It didn't even reach 30 million. It only reached 26 million for its opening weekend. If you Oh, there's if you really want to know how bad that weekend truly is, or how bad the rest of its domestic run, which was 54 million. If you really want to see how bad that is, The original Suicide Squad, the bad one, the one everyone hates, that made $65 million on its opening day. Yes, the original Suicide Squad made more on day one than the Suicide Squad has made total domestically after over a month. That is horrific. That is horrible. That has to be one of the worst sequel performances in history. It has to be because, like, the first Suicide Squad, as bad as it was, again, it made a whole lot of money. And you want to know why it made a whole lot of money? Because it had strong marketing, very strong marketing. That Bohemian Rhapsody trailer for the Suicide Squad changed that movie. It helped the movie financially, but it hurt it creatively because that trailer ultimately changed the movie, definitely for the worse, but it helped sell it. And with the Suicide Squad, I felt like its trailers, although they were good, they were just not as memorable or not as impactful as the first Suicide Squad movies trailers were. I thought the marketing just didn't land with a lot of people, which sucks because the movie was really freaking good, a bajillion times better than the original. And when I saw the movie, I saw this in theaters. I know it was on HBO Max, and that availability definitely hurt it, with no question. I saw it in theaters, and I was like, "Oh wow, there's a lot of people in here. A lot of people are looking forward to this movie," and it gave me this false sense of hope that it would do well, only to see the numbers, and I'm just like, "What the hell happened here?" Like, yeah, just it's tragic. It's super tragic. Hell, it did worse than Birds of Prey. I never thought that would have been possible. Because Birds of Prey was already an underperformer, and now the Suicide Squad did even worse. Like, ugh. And what's really, just damning, looking at its box office, is the second weekend. It fell 71%. 71. That When that happens, you're screwed. This is game over. Even the first Suicide Squad, as bad as it was, it only dropped like 67%. And that was the far worst movie. So yeah, this movie's an anomaly in the worst way possible. But I mean, I guess if I can find some positives, there's pretty much none. But if we really want to dig deep, I mean, it had the biggest opening weekend for an R-rated movie this year at only 26 million. It made more than Wonder Woman 1984 domestically, so hooray! Oh, what a just oh my gosh. I can't even I don't even want to talk about this movie anymore. It's just making me depressed. So, let's move on. But yeah, the Suicide Squad, after its opening weekend, I thought for sure it would be the big L in the month, but we haven't even gotten to the big L yet. Oh, we'll get to that. But yeah, the Suicide Squad, definitely one of the biggest bombs of the year, which again is tragic because it's a movie that you really should watch because it's really good. Please support it. Please. I'm begging you at this point. So yeah, that was the first week of August, and because of Suicide Squad's bad performance, a lot of people were like, oh no, things are going bad again." The box office is going down. We're in trouble. But the next weekend, the narrative changed. Well, actually, the narrative changes so frequently, it's crazy. But the week after Suicide Squad, things started to change and change for the better. As we had three movies all having theatrical only releases, but only one of them doing exceedingly well. And that one was not Don't Breathe 2. Don't Breathe 2. I predicted it would make between 10 to 15 million opening weekend. I think it was 25, 35 total. It's reached that. It opened right above 10. It's now made close to $29 million, so it definitely reached my expectations. Now, when compared to the original, this performance is terrible. It's all well, not quite as bad as the Suicide Squad's performance in comparison to its predecessor, but it's still pretty bad. Like, this is barely more than the first Don't Breathe's opening weekend, which was 26 million. And that movie ended up with like 85 million or something, 86. Yeah, it was really impressive. This is nowhere near as impressive, but it was super cheap, only at $15 million, so it's not like it's gonna lose money. And for a sequel that honestly, after watching the movie, really shouldn't exist at all, feels super unnecessary. It could have done a whole lot worse. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a relative success in the grand scheme of things. And besides, nobody expected it to match its predecessor, so it didn't have to deal with that pressure. So yeah, I would consider it a modest success at best. I wouldn't consider it a real winner. But now, talking about real winners, the big, big, big winner of August was Free Guy, of all movies. Free Guy. God, where to begin with this? I've talked about Free Guy many times, mainly because of the canceled series, because this was supposed to come out last July. This was coming out last July for 4th of July weekend. It probably would have done super well, but then COVID happened, and then it got pushed back again and again and again. So reaching this August date, right? And I was worried for it because this is a 20th century studios flick. Basically, this was a Fox movie before Disney, bought Fox and all their properties and assets and all that. And this was a movie they acquired from them. But even before the pandemic, it was clear they had a bit more faith in this than some of their other projects because, oh man, the amount of bombs on 20th Century Fox Studio, the Disney Fox movies has just been abysmal. I mean, we're talking Dark Phoenix, Call of the Wild, New Mutants, just bad. There's a terrible track record. I think the only one that did all right was Ford v Ferrari, if I'm not mistaken. So I thought Free Guy was in a bit of trouble. But then I saw its opening weekend. Opened to 28 million, which is better than the Suicide Squad. I was like, oh, wow. That's really good. But I don't know if it's going to have great legs, though. I mean, it might. I mean, it does have to deal with streaming and piracy cutting it off. But still, I don't know. But then that second weekend happened, and I was just like, oh, wow, this is getting really interesting. Only fell 35% in the second weekend. That never happens in this modern age, pandemic or not. That just doesn't happen ever. Then it fell 29% third weekend and 32% for this fourth weekend. So it's been having really excellent legs, like very strong legs for a blockbuster-esque film. And it will soon reach 100 million, meaning it will be one of the only movies this year to do so. So it's in the elite class, which is something I bet a lot of people didn't think would happen. A lot of people thought Suicide Squad or The Suicide Squad would be in that elite club, and that includes me. But Free Guy came out of nowhere and took everyone by surprise. And you know what? I got to give it props. Got to give it kudos. And not to mention, it's a really fun movie. It's easy to see why a movie like this would do so well. It's fun. It's not complicated enough. Like it's easy to understand for general audiences. to get. And plus, it's a video game movie not based on an actual video game, and those do better than actual video game movies. Why? I don't know, but that's just how it is. And so yeah, Free Guy, you are the big winner. You're literally only one of the only winners of this whole year. So yeah, you get a big thumbs up from me. So yeah, that was Free Guy, the big winner of the month. And then last movie that came out for the August 13th was Respect. I predicted it would open with 10 million and make like 35 million. I projected strong legs, or these decent legs. That did not happen, really. It only opened like 8.8 million. It's only made 22.5 million so far, which is weak by, biographical music movie standards. I mean, it performed less like, say, less like a Walk the Line, or Straight Outta Compton, or Bohemian Rhapsody, or even Rocket Man. Performed less like them and performed more like Get On Up, right, from 2014. Performed more like that, and that movie did just bad. Despite being really good, it still did terrible. And this did even worse than that. So it's a big yikes. So yeah, I mean, I'm honestly, now that I think about it, I shouldn't be that surprised about it. I mean, its target audience is the type that's very hesitant to go to the movie theater. I mean, the big demographic that goes out to the movies these days are males between the ages of 18 to 35. Yeah, or 34, I forget. Yeah, that's the big demographic. And that demographic was not going to show up to see this. This was geared more towards older women, and yeah, they're definitely not going to go to the theater, at least not now. So yeah, I really should have seen its underperformance coming, but I wanted to be optimistic. But granted, I was optimistic about the Suicide Squad, and that blew up in my face. So yeah, but then I was pessimistic with Free Guy, and again that blew up in my face too. So yeah, yeah, yeah. But that was the August 13th weekend. Now August 20th. Oh boy, what a bloodbath this weekend was. So let's start with The Night House. Now I predicted it would open with 3 million, make 8, 9 million total. I didn't expect big things out of this movie. Had a lack of marketing. It felt like they're just kind of shoving it out there despite the movie getting like strong reviews. And it didn't do that good. It didn't do great at all. It only opened to 2.8 million. So I was close with opening weekend, and it's only made 6.5 million at this point in time. So yeah, it's not doing great at all. But I didn't expect it to do great anyway, so I'm not that surprised. But at least I was somewhat accurate. I was somewhat close with my prediction, so at least there's that. But yeah, for anyone who's a fan of this movie, I know this is sad for you. I feel like it might get a second life on PVOD, maybe. I mean, that's how The Empty Man did much worse than this, and now that has a sizable cult following. So maybe the same will happen to this, probably. But, who knows? So that was The Night House. Next up, the only movie that weekend that actually did okay, Paw Patrol, the movie. I predicted it would open with like 10 million, make like 30 to 40 million total, but I was a little pessimistic for several reasons. One, family movies were just not doing that great. And, throughout the summer, we've had bombs like well, I wouldn't say bombs, like underperformers like Peter Rabbit 2, Boss Baby 2, Space Jam 2, Spirit Untamed. Nobody remembers that movie. Cruella. The only one that's did all right really was Jungle Cruise, which has made over 100 million, so it's in the elite club. Yeah, besides that, it's just been bad, and I didn't think this movie would do that much better. And technically, it didn't, but comparison to all those other movies, this was a bit cheaper to make, so at least had that going for it. And yeah, it's open with 13 million. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention the whole Paramount Plus thing. I thought that would kill its numbers a bit, and also the uncertainty surrounding. There's like this Vax card thing that's been going around, where you have to show your vaccination card if you want to enter a movie theater, and because the prime demographic for this movie, kids under the age of 12, really under the age of 6, they can't get vaccinated. Yeah, I thought that would pose a real problem, but nope, not at all, because it did okay. It opened with 13 million. It's now made 32 million at this point in time. It's done pretty well overseas too. I mean, this international total is technically not correct. That's actually made a bit more than that. But for low expectations, it did really good. And not to mention, this whole movie is pretty much was pretty much made to sell merch, because the whole brand, you just see it everywhere in the store, on everything. It's inescapable. So yeah, this is basically, this movie doing all right will only help the brand, will help the show, will help the toys, the merch, and all of that. So there's no way this movie's gonna lose any money anytime ever. So hooray, Paw Patrol, you didn't embarrass yourself. So congrats, I guess. So yeah, that was Paw Patrol the movie. And now, oh wait, we haven't gone to it yet. There's also the Protege. I was way too optimistic with this. I thought it would open between 5 to 6 million and make, I don't know, 15 million or something like that. It's only made 7 million, so I was off by half. Ugh. Only made opened like 2.9 million. Like, I knew this movie wasn't going to be a big hit, because it just felt like this whole movie felt like deja vu. It felt like I've seen this movie 1,000 times, all 1,000 times over. The whole femme fatale action movie, that's been done to death, and this did nothing to separate itself from the crowd. It just felt like just another one on an assembly line. And yeah, I'm not that surprised it didn't do bad, but I thought it would do just a tad bit better, but it didn't. So yeah. But that's not even the worst performer of the month. No. We're now getting to the real L of the month, the biggest L of the, not just the month or the summer or the year. I think the biggest L of the past few years, if you ask me. And that movie being Reminiscence. Now, with my prediction, I predicted it would open between $9 and $10 million. I thought that was me being optimistic, but it's still it still would not have been good at all, because the movie cost like $67 million. So that still would have been bad. But holy fucking shit, this did so much worse than I ever could have predicted ever. It didn't reach 9 to 10 million. It didn't reach 5 or 4 or 3 or even 2. It only opened with $1.9 million for the whole 3 days, for the entire weekend. Like, Paw Patrol opened like 4.5 million its opening day. Oh, and then now it's only made 3.8 million total, which means Paw Patrol has made more in one day than Reminiscence made in its entire run. Just think about that for a second. Just let that sink in. And oh my gosh, like how could it bomb this badly? I didn't think it was going to do well anyway, but I never would have guessed it would do this just this abysmal. Oh yeah, I didn't even mention that this movie actually broke a record, the worst record you could possibly break. It had the worst opening weekend for a movie opening over 3,000 theaters. Like the previous low was the rhythm section, and that was released back in the calm before the storm days of January 2020. So yeah, Reminiscence broke a big bad record. So at least it can, okay, I don't know if boast is the right word. It can at least say that it broke a record. Yeah, there's nothing positive I can say about this movie. Nothing. Nothing. I knew it was doomed from the get-go. No, an original sci-fi movie opening in theaters is always risky, because unless it's based off like a pre-established property like Star Wars, Star Trek, or even Guardians of the Galaxy had the Marvel name attached to it, audiences aren't going to be that interested in it. And plus, the marketing just didn't catch anyone apparently. And of course, the HBO Max availability was just the final nail in the coffin, as well as the reviews. But really, that HBO Max availability killed it. And it was at that point in time when I learned of its numbers that I was like, okay, this HBO Max experiment is a bust. It really is. I mean, with the Suicide Squad bombing and this bombing, this HBO Max thing is just not working. It's only worked once really well, and that was with Godzilla vs. Kong. After that, it's just you have movies that have done okay, like Conjuring 3, Mortal Kombat, Tom and Jerry, and then after that, it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse until you literally reach the bottom of the barrel, and this indeed is the bottom of the barrel. So, yeah, yeah, just God. And I think it's pretty much out of theaters at this point. It, oh my gosh, it only made $61,000. This past weekend, it lost like over nearly 3,000 theaters. Like, geez, it's game over. Well, it was game over from the second it was released into cinemas. So yeah, what a disaster. What a true disaster. Easily one of the biggest bombs in the last few years. Like, goddamn. So yeah, that was a rough weekend to say the least. But at least the month ended on somewhat of a high with Candyman, which came out August 27th. Now, with my prediction, I had a bit of a wide prediction. I thought it would open between 15 to 25 million and I'll make like maybe 40 to 50, maybe 60 million total. And it's done just that. It's reached my expectations because it opened with 22 million, and it's now made 42 million, 42.5 million as we speak. Likely going to make a little bit more at the end of its run, probably in the mid 50s, which, for a movie like this, as inexpensive as this, is quite good. It would be one of the better performing horror movies of the year. I think the only ones that have done better are Quiet Place 2 and Conjuring 3. So, which means this movie's going to do better than Forever Purge. It's going to do better than Escape Room 2, Don't Breathe 2. It's going to do better than all of them. Oh, yeah, and Spiral 2. So, yeah. Gotta give it a thumbs up. This movie, especially being a theatrical only movie, it was thanks to Free Guy, Candyman, and then the following week with Shang-Chi that it proved without a shadow of a doubt that the theatrical movie going experience is far from dead. Okay? People are willing to go out to see a movie as long as it looks interesting or good. And this is just one of those examples. And besides, this movie had brand name recognition with The original being well beloved by many people, despite being released nearly 30 years ago. So, yeah, this movie was probably going to do well. How well, I didn't know, but I'm just glad it made some money. I'm glad the month didn't end in embarrassment. So, yeah, congrats, Candyman. You didn't do well. Yeah, you didn't do too bad. Well, you did quite good. I mean, you probably would have done better if you came out last June, in the pre-pandemic times, but fate didn't want that to happen. Yeah. And that's the end of August. Yeah, it's just weird, 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 weird. Very unexpected, but also it was kind of surprising. So at least it's better than having a predictable month. So yeah, that was August. I guess comment down below which of these movies did you see in August. For me, I saw The Suicide Squad, Free Guy, and Don't Breathe 2. I think out of the three, Suicide Squad was the best, but tragically nobody watched it. So yeah, it's really unfortunate. But Free Guy's really good too. Don't Breathe 2 is kind of if you ask me. It's not great. So yeah, now we got to look at next. Well, actually, this month, September. September we got Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. That's the winner automatically. It's a given. You might as well crown it now. And after that, you got Malignant, Show Me the Father, Cop Shop, Cry Macho, Eyes of Tammy Faye, and finally Dear Evan Hansen. But yeah, we already know who the winner is. It's not going to be a shock to anyone. So yeah, September, besides the obvious winner of being with Shang-Chi, it looks a bit interesting. Not super interesting. We won't have a really interesting month till October. October, that's going to be a month to pay attention to. That's going to be a crucial month. So we really should stay tuned to that because September is just kind of a lull month, with the exception of Shang-Chi. So yeah, anywho, yeah, that's it. That's all. Make sure to subscribe, like this video, leave a comment, turn notifications, share the whole drill. Want to check out more videos like this? Got playlists on the homepage. Fill of all previous recap videos I made from the pre-pandemic days to the pandemic days. So if you want to watch any of those, you can go right ahead. And oh yeah, also I've decided on making a recap of the summer season of summer 2021. I originally thought about doing winners and losers, but I decided to do something a little more interesting, and it revolves around streaming versus theatrical because that was a big, big, big old debate that was going on all summer regarding if movies should just stay in theaters or if they should just go to streaming and theatrical at the same time. So yeah, I'm gonna split that into two parts with I guess the first part being theatrical movies only, and I judge those, and then I judge the streaming movies on their own. So yeah, that's the plan. I don't know when I'll put that video up, probably in a week or so. So I guess you can stay tuned for that. But if you want to watch any of the past recap videos I made, you can go right ahead. There's also the canceled series where I go over all the movies that were supposed to come out but didn't. Funny enough, The Suicide Squad was one of the few movies that never changed its release date ever. It was always meant to come out on August 6th, for better or worse. Because, when the pandemic hit, the movie was already done filming. All they had to do was edit. That was it. Like, editing was the easy part. So it literally had nothing to worry about. See, that's a fun fact for you. But if you want to watch, any of the past canceled episodes, I just made one about Halloween Kills getting the the streaming treatment, well, the streaming and theater treatment because it's going to go to Peacock and theaters at the same time. So if you want to watch that or any of the past canceled episodes, there's now 78. You can go right ahead. And there's also box office predictions where I predict box office for movies. This weekend, I do Malignant and Show Me the Father. Next weekend, I do Cop Shop, Cry Macho, Eyes of Tammy Faye. And the week after that, I do Dear Evan Hansen. And then that'll be the end of September. But if you want to watch any of the past prediction videos I made this year, you can go right ahead. And yeah, that's it. That's all. I am out. Goodbye.